Yeah, my name's Wayne Duff-Godfrey. I'm an operational manager and I manage the housing services within ACT. So we provide accommodation mainly for offenders. It's our largest client group, so our biggest issue really is to make sure that there's a smooth transition from somebody from custody into a supported accommodation and then a sufficient support package in place to move them on to independent living. Yeah, we work very closely with probation services, other housing providers, the local authorities, Suffolk County Council, training providers, these sorts of things, other volunteer agencies. I think the biggest challenge is some of the perceptions of the client groups we work with, because we will take them on as service users and residents in the homes, but ultimately the goal is to move them on, and the barriers that offenders face do create issues when you're trying to do that. Not everybody holds the same perceptions of these people as Anglia Care Trust does, and not everybody believes that change is possible. Our residents access other services within Anglia Care Trust. We link up with the money advice service to increase their financial capability while they're with us, which enhances their scope to move on and be independent. We also work closely with our Opportunity Suffolk service, which enables them to seek employment and volunteer work and become economically active, which is often quite a big step for them. I think it fills a gap really. I mean, we're obviously being in the third sector, you have your statutory services and you have your private services, and with the demand for statutory services as high as it is, and often private services requiring funding from people's personal pots of money, then we come in as the middle ground and the people who can fill that gap and make sure that some service is available to everybody, whether they can afford it or if there's not a statutory duty to them, we can provide them with a service. And I'd say we stop anybody from falling through the net really would be one of our biggest functions. It's not just offenders the work we do, it's we do work with Syrian refugee families. We provide them with housing and accommodation upon their arrival, and we support them to settle in and integrate. We work alongside the Suffolk Refugee Service, who provide the general support while they're here in order to integrate them in society, help them learn the language. Our role in that is to maintain the roof over their head, make sure that's as homely as possible. Often these people have come from potentially unsafe environments, and they've arrived in a country where the culture might be a bit alien to them. So we try to cater to them as best we can. We also work with victims of domestic abuse. Those people who have fled a domestic abuse situation and are excluded from your generic refuge because of the various criteria that's in place. These would be your people with mental health issues or substance misuse problems, or male victims as well. So we fill that gap, whereas previously they would have had nowhere to flee to from that situation. Yeah, what I would say to landlords is that Anglia Care Trust provides a service whereby we lease the properties from you, and we guarantee the rent during that period, and we also guarantee to hand the property back to you at the end in the state that we took it. So whereby a private landlord might have to incur the costs of voids and turning over a property over the course of a time when a tenant moves in and moves out, potentially you can give the property to Anglia Care Trust for 1 to 5 years and then take a step back, and the rent will come in, you won't have to get involved, and we would look after your property. And of course at the same time as well, it's serving a benefit to the community, which if you're that way minded will be a benefit as well.